Hello, everyone. I am Isabella, the Program Director of Hong Kong Design Center and today's MC for the Design Dialogue. Thank you for joining the DFA Design for Asia Awards Design Dialogue by Hong Kong Design Center. The DFA Awards recognize designers and projects that meaningfully address critical issues and contribute to the betterment of society in Asia and beyond. Every year, DFA Awards organize a series of events in various cities in Asia. We wish to provide a platform for our designers from worldwide to share their insights and design thinking with us. In the last few weeks, we have conducted 4 dialogues with past winners of DFA Awards. Here comes the 5th and also the final round. Today, we are grateful to have speakers based in Singapore and Indonesia to join us. Before we start our dialogue, I will give you a brief introduction of the Hong Kong Design Center and its DFA Awards first. Hong Kong Design Center is a non-governmental organization, which is the strategic partner of the HKSAR government in establishing Hong Kong as an international center of design excellence in Asia. Our purpose mission is to promote wider and strategic use of design and design thinking to create business value and improve societal well-being. To realize this goal, we have held a number of different programs as shown on the screen. Since 2003, the Hong Kong Design Center has launched the DFA Awards to underpin the role of designers in society and to celebrate design leadership and exemplar designs and projects with commercial success and impact in Asia, as well as to recognize the rising force of emerging Hong Kong designers. The 5 awards under the DFA Awards are DFA Lifetime Achievement Award, the DFA Design Leadership Award, DFA World's Outstanding Chinese Designer, DFA Design for Asia Awards, and the DFA Hong Kong Young Design Talent Award. Among them, the DFA Design for Asia Awards, which recognizes excellent global entries, is surely the spotlight. Today's the guest speakers are all winners of this award. Before we start the dialogue, let's share an introduction video of the DFA Design for Asia Awards.
I'm sure, DFA Award have established a very good reputation across Asia and internationally over the years. It will continue to celebrate good designs. It will continue to shape the industry.
In terms of the quality of the submission, I can guarantee that, the standard is actually very high or even higher than before.
As mentioned in the video, DFA Design for Asia Awards 2023 is now open for entry. The deadline will be next week, Friday. So we have extended our deadline for 1 week because we still have some more entries coming up. So now, before the dialogue, I would like to tell you the theme of today. Design is embracing variety, unleashing creativity. Our 3 speakers will share how diverse design approaches can enhance the effectiveness of design work, catering to the unique needs and preferences of a wide range of audience. Afterwards, we will have panel discussion and then the Q&A section. If you have any questions for our speakers, please leave a message in Zoom webinar, Q&A, or YouTube chat box. Now let me introduce today's speakers and moderator. Firstly, we have Kevin Hubbard, who is from UK, but now he is based in Singapore. He is the designer of M. Moser Associates. His design project for Dyson Global Headquarters has won the Spatial Design Gold Award in DFA Design for Asia Awards 2022. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Isabel.
Hi, and our next speaker is Cheryl Sim from Singapore. She is a designer of Plus Collaboratives. She has earned the Communication Design Silver Award in DFA Design for Asia Awards 2022 in recognition for her unconventional print design project. And thank you, Cheryl. Our final speaker is Rudy Dodo from Indonesia. He is designer of Trivium Design Group. His application of traditional elements in interior design of a luxury resort won him the Spatial Design Bronze Award in DFA Design for Asia Awards 2022. And next, I would like to hi, Dodo.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. And next, I would like to introduce our moderator to all of you, Guan Yu Chen, the Deputy Director of Strategy, Governance, and International Relations from Design Singapore Council. Thank you, Guan Yu.
All right.
Hi. And welcome
Thanks,
everyone
Isabella.
joining us in this dialogue. Without delay, I will now give the floor to Guan Yu. Thank you, Guan Yu.
Thanks, Isabella. So good afternoon, everyone, and a big thank you to the Hong Kong Design Council for giving me the chance to speak with all of you today. Interesting. The title of this session is Embracing Variety and Unleashing Creativity, because for myself, representing an agency within the Singapore government, it can be quite a tricky topic. The question we always struggle with is how can we provide that freedom and space for designers to innovate and create, yet set boundaries that may be restrictive in the form of our initiative, grant, programs, and events, just like what the Hong Kong Design Council goes through. But actually through this, we've seen a lot of fascinating works from designers who use dog fur to make carpets, designers who reimagine 7-Eleven stores to become a dialogue on consumerism and impact on sustainability, and even designers who reimagine IKEA catalogs into a self-help DIY guidebook on dementia care. Largely, I would like to think that we have been successful unifying the various projects we commission or support via overarching themes from design futures to regenerative design. But otherwise, the magic is really left to designers who infuse their own unique identity and craft to the works. But despite working on so many different projects, ranging from our recent showing at Venice Biennale Architecture to our exhibitions during the Singapore Design Week, it is honestly, for me, still a fascinating black box in terms of determining and measuring creativity. Certainly, the answer is not within the project briefs that we craft or even the evaluation metrics used to assess each of these works. But thankfully, I have three amazing designers today who can help me break down what creativity means to each of them as we take a closer look at their award-winning projects. So maybe I can hand off first to Kevin to talk a little bit about the Dyson headquarter project that he has done in Singapore.
Thank you, Guan Yu. Okay. So today I'll be talking about quickly about the work we've done with Dyson to create Project All St. James Power Station. So there are really kind of three core themes when we're turning this historical monument to a global HQ that we kind of focus on. One was regeneration, humanizing space, and then creating a platform to inspire people.
Yeah.
The site's in bang central on the south coast of Singapore. It's 20 minutes from Changi International Airport, and basically kind of takes advantage of the rich kind of STEM graduates that are kind of in Singapore and in the region in general, basically funding their R&D ambitions. The site has always been like a cathedral of innovation. It was the first municipal power station in Singapore, the first automated warehouse in the world, I believe, and then also had a bit more of a kind of a social function as being, you know, the largest kind of nightclub venue in Singapore for a number of years. When the lease did run out on the nightclub, it was given a new life by Mapletree, W Architects and Studio Lapis, who basically provided a core and shell refit of the space, essentially kind of focusing on that amazing brick facade and the steel structure. And then we have kind of the client themselves. So, I mean, it's an amazing quote from Sir James. And I think, good design and engineering are really ingrained in the culture of kind of Dyson. And they really kind of pick these interesting sites to kind of create spaces that kind of generate, inspire, and drive innovation. So, I mean, the second theme I'll just quickly skip over is, humanizing space. So we actually have this big axo. So what we were kind of actually inspired by was to create a central square in the middle. This is inspired by quadrangles from academia, and that allowed us to kind of create different kind of structures within the building based on the architectural grid, in a way kind of creating kind of faculties for the different departments, which then would have they have their own materiality to kind of engage people around the space. First thing that you see when you enter is this massive kind of cathedral-like space, which is the reception, but it's also a space for them to kind of showcase their products. They also kind of welcome and share ideas and innovations with kind of external partners and suppliers. Core to this is something that we kind of call kind of human sustainability. So, the building's designed to kind of WELL Platinum standards, and there's a focus on kind of natural daylight, movement, wellness, and general kind of, mental sustainability. Movement, such kind of a key theme within the space. So we kind of managed to kind of put in this amazing kind of engineered kind of spiral staircase. It's the only point that kind of actually connects all 4 floors. And also it's kind of a bit of an engineering masterpiece that's kind of inspired by the gas turbines that are in the existing space. Activation. On the ground floor of this square, we have an auditorium, a cafe, many types of kind of different seating areas and cafeteria. And it's all about kind of bringing people into the heart of the building to kind of encourage communication and kind of exchange the ideas. And then another element is kind of introducing natural elements and greenery to actually kind of create a spine of green within the building that then kind of complements this to kind of the existing kind of landscaping that was already in place. So an interesting fact, given the engineering of the sightlines, you can stand in block A and B and have access to green foliage for wherever you stand. And then tying back into kind of the theme of the talk, it's all about kind of providing people the right kind of range and choice to kind of collaborate and kind of do the task in hand. So we have everything from kind of touchdown areas beneath trees, high table collaboration spaces, single pods, and then again, kind of focused work areas and workbenches. Here's just a quick example of a photo of a snapshot showing versatile areas in the public square. The collaborative spaces here, which are kind of activated by the spiral stair, but actually kind of like a giant library, which also kind of provides an acoustic buffer to the more focused spaces. And these are kind of actually supported by kind of pantries to provide nourishments and water and kind of coffee points. And then again, kind of the focused workspaces. So we do have spaces where people can go on to kind of 1 or 2 people or kind of focused tasks or workbenches. And then all this thing about this work is all about kind of connecting and sharing. So these are kind of supported by series kind of meeting rooms of different kind of sizes to support ideation, sprinting and kind of projects. It's actually kind of the boardroom, which is kind of a great example of how we worked with the building to create these platforms. So underneath here, all the research laboratories, and behind this kind of mirrored facade is actually the services which kind of help them. It just shows the ingenuity and engineering that we kind of want to kind of, put in place to kind of actually respect the architecture of the existing building. Then last, our own goal, it's all about kind of inspiring people. So, global events and launches, knowledge sharing with, a variety of suppliers, partners, university students, product launches. So the space has kind of proved itself versatile enough to even kind of host a catwalk show. But, most importantly, the community within, within the kind of the end users within Dyson to kind of come together and kind of share. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Super fascinating, and I'd love to dive into that a little bit later. But maybe for now, we can hand over to Cheryl to share a bit about her equally fascinating project.
Thanks, Daniel. Hi, I'm Cheryl from Plus. Yes, I'm going to take you guys through my project. Yes, okay. As a base, we are a design studio in Singapore. Just to share a little bit of a background first, we work in quite a varied mix of outputs. So sometimes you'll see us engaging in space, sometimes experiences, sometimes visual communications. So And a lot of the times, it's experiences that we are trying to chase, and this project is Insecta Irides. We try to push for this level of experience and cross the idea of a singular output. So we try to turn the client's objective into an experience. Like, for example, this Insecta Irides was in response to a brief to sell printers. But before I share more about this project, the idea of variety comes in this project, not just in the outputs, but I guess what I really wanted to talk about when the theme was given to us was the idea of affordance, because the idea that the design works teaches users how to interact with it. So when talking about selling printers, connecting to people, that was something that was quite at the core of what we thought about. So in our studio, we talk about this idea of affordance, how we gather information, how we understand context, understand people, and ask questions. So making that connection that drives value to the design, how people understand things is very different. And more often than not, you will see that you will need a range of things in order to catch their attention and get your point across. So in our studio, this is the methodology that we go by, the idea of gathering information, understanding people, asking questions, curating it, capturing the essence, designing the solution, and finally constructing the experience, realizing the design solution. So in Insecta Irides, this was exactly what happened in the process. There was really a long process that we spent with the clients, because this is actually for Fujifilm, a print company. So their primary job is to sell printers, and what they came to us for was this idea of how do I sell this $250,000 printer to my audience in a way that that could catch their attention. How can I stand out from the others that are out there in the industry? So we really thought through this process with them, and we tried to bring this idea of a print catalog into something that it's a bit more different, to question how they usually receive print materials and how we market capabilities to them. So a lot of times these printers, they are quite apt in their technicalities. They have been working in this for a really long time. So showcasing a new printer with new parts and all that sometimes is not really new to them. It has become some sort of a routine to them. So understanding that, we went by the idea of trying to capture their imagination. So then the project Insecta Irides was born. So Insecta Irides was this idea of trying to market their metallic capabilities. So what we imagined was this entire realm of iridescent bugs that were found in this imaginary world called oxyjurics, which was a play on Fujifilm. So this project Irides was this print catalog that took you through a whole experience of finding these bugs in oxyjurics and using their red ink toner, creating fluorescent prints, as well as their mattes and all that, using different paper stocks to bring out the imagination of what the print could do on the different paper stocks. At the same time, quite naturally take them through the entire story about finding these bugs and all that, kept them engaged, taking papers, using certificates. And what they will realize at the end of the day, certificates are something that they could usually print. This newsletters and all that was something that was commonly printed on our paper that we used for our newspapers and all that. So we wanted to incorporate things that they would normally use for their clients into what we have here as a compilation of this imagination. So they could see the value of what the machine could bring to and what kind of outputs that they could achieve. So this was actually part of a two-part print experience. So the first part was to intrigue. Like I mentioned, like they really wanted this idea of imagination, because investing that sum of money into a printer, a lot of times what they were trying to think about was how can they make back this thing? And the idea of imagination was something that that came about to try and push that boundary of what could be possible to come out of it. So using that, we presented a series of 3D jewelry pieces made out of those print materials, paper and ink, and as well as the catalog to explore the curiosity. So it's really a two-part. First, to capture their attention, to intrigue, and then to explore that curiosity. So this was our solution, the two-part print experience. So this gem-like bug jewelry pieces were created. So they were designed to be facet-like because of the shine. So when you have something that's a little bit more 3D, reflects light in a certain way that 2D medium was a little bit difficult to present. So presenting that, and why jewelry is because the industry uses a loop to take a look at the closer print quality. And we wanted to use that familiarity in a way that was connected to them in that sense, but yet presenting it in a new context where right now they are inspecting fine jewelry almost. So these pieces which were printed using the metallic print capabilities intrigued them to really come up close to take a look at some of these qualities, and the bugs as well. They were quite intricately put together, and almost 90% of it was made out of paper. Yeah, so this combination of it really encouraged them to really come up close to and inspect the print. Because this tactile print experience, what we really wanted to do was to relate the product strength to the consumer's key consideration for their business. So this tactile print experience was showcased at one of their key networking events, and that really helped the Fujifilm sales team to align their marketing narratives towards the product's USP. So we wanted to emphasize that metallic shine and convince of the quality by inspecting it up close at site. So that was followed up later on by the journal that's documenting scientific findings of bugs in various forms. So the metallic inks of like gold, white, silver, they were further explored. So they were explored on different mediums with folios, maps, drawings, and things like that, demonstrating the print effects on different paper type. And because it's enhanced by that fictional story, encouraged that tactile inspection. Visitors really unfold mats, read torn newspaper clippings, and they handled money. So we had money that was drawn for Foxy Druid's area. Yeah, so this catalog really replaces the usual practice of them having to create their own demonstration when they do buy the printer for their customers, which sometimes come from the creative industry. So this was in a way trying to help them reach their customers' needs to the end consumers' needs. So that is something that we try to kind of understand their final purpose, so that this particular catalog doesn't really stop at being useful only when the printers buy them, but yet it becomes a showpiece for their end consumers when to demonstrate what could be possible when talking about using the qualities of this printer. Yeah, so it really considered, what we really considered was really how traditional houses, print houses, consider when they try to purchase new machines. So we designed this familiar collateral types in the form of like certificates, tickets, postcards into the narrative so that we could demonstrate it. So this was really a process of really trying to understand like a lot of the variables together with their print engineers. And it was a very interesting process for us because there was a lot that go into how you tweak a lot of these settings and all that to achieve the optimum shine. So within the guide as well, we try to make it a little bit more useful by trying to educate how certain things are being achieved. So the gold swatches, talking about the percentages, the intensity, and how you to depict your file. These are some of the things that we inserted in between the stories. So it really becomes still useful as a guide, even while they are exploring the narrative. Yeah, so these are some of the visuals that are part of the guide. The print quality and all that we tried to work quite closely with their print engineers. The 3 different species of bugs that we try to capture because of the different color range that it could achieve. So finally, at the end of the day, this was really something that was showcased to the industry. And it was fresh to the industry veterans because it was really something that was quite different. So we tried to really engage them in this tactile quality exploration, which was quite different from the 2D mediums that printers are known to print out. So yeah, hopefully this really encourages them to imagine. And the feedback from the sales team was that this idea of imagination was something new from them to connect to their audience. So this helped segue them into a discussion of like what could possibly be the printer be used for. Yeah, so that's Insecta Irides.
Thanks, Cheryl. That's super fascinating. I had a chance to see your work in person, and I don't know whether it's still available, but I strongly encourage everyone to check it out if you can. So from one small, tiny little insect, now we're going to increase the scale all the way to the palace of a project that is the Apruva. So Dodo, maybe you can take us through it.
Still mute. Okay. The Apurva Hotel is located in Bali, actually, in near Nusa Dua area, and then all the designers here is unfortunately Indonesian designer. So maybe I will tell you a story about the process of the design. not the design itself, because the design is very variety, from the lobby to the spa to the restaurant. We have 5 restaurants. We have hot pot restaurant, Japanese restaurant. So I'm not gonna tell you the story about that because it's gonna be very long. In the process of this design, first I get this project and then think about this project in the beginning. At first I still think about that I'm an outside Bali designer that designing hotel in Bali. So that's on the beginning. But in the process, we already 23 years company, and then we back and forth Bali around almost 30 years, and then find out that that's not the way to approach that. And then somehow I decide to approach that I'm a local Balinese that design hotel in Bali, something like that. And then that may be very strange, but yeah, the creativity is not limited, right? And then for the on that point of view, as a Balinese, I learn about their capability, and then their aim in design is absorb all the culture outside, and then somehow they can make it become Bali. That's what I learned about that, about them, about the artists in Bali, about the craftsmen in Bali, about the as you know, Balinese people is very close to the art from the beginning, from their born, from their just little kid, they very exposed to the art. And then that's how I approach this project. And then as you see in Bali, they also doesn't really afraid of people for example copying their design or something. So they're very freedom. So yes, in this project, somehow I use all the culture in Indonesia and then blend it together and cook it, and then hopefully it becomes more Bali design. And then yeah, I think is quite okay, turns out. And then can you display about Ashta? So I show you one last thing is Ashta shops in that hotel also. That Ashta is very unique because this is my journey. Actually, my journey when in the process designing of this hotel, I travel, I attend the exhibition of the crafts of Indonesia, and then all the crafts of Indonesia is compiled together in this shop finally. So this shop is content of the content of the shop is all that the craft of Indonesia that I researched along the way this project process. Can you show the inside? Okay. Yes, this is the inside. So you can see all the bags, the ceramics, the lamps, everything is there. This is actually the Apurva Hotel about. So I believe that variety in the design is very important. Maybe that's all. Maybe this is already 4 minutes. About the chapel, maybe I can tell you a little bit. This is the chapel uniquely without the drawing. So this is the bamboo craft, make the mock-up, not the drawing. So this project is unique because not sufficient of the drawing, but it can happen. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dodo.
Mm.
Really fascinating. And yeah, since we ended off with you, I thought maybe it'd be great to just dive a little bit more into each of your project. Starting with this project, Dodo, and you being one of the veteran of the industry here, I think almost 30 years of experience.
Yes.
I think what's fascinating here is that you talk a lot about bringing that Indonesian culture, the Indonesian art. It's fully created by Indonesian designers. And I think one of your inspiration was also the Majapahit Empire and
Yes.
that period of Indonesian art thriving, Indonesian creativity. The fascinating thing for me here is when we're talking about embracing variety, you almost have too many things to choose from. So it becomes almost from a design project, I see this almost like a curation project. So how do you find the balance? How do you decide what influence to bring together here?
Yeah, that's the I think the one that I explained in the beginning. So I act as a Balinese craftsman or Balinese artisan that designing a hotel in Bali. So they always absorb all the culture in from around the world. For if you see in Bali, the carving is influenced by Chinese carving, influenced by European carving, influenced by of course India, and then China, and then Southeast Asia. Everything is there, and then they can blend together. But when they display it later, it become Bali. So magically it's become Bali. Your European carving become Bali. The Chinese carving become Bali. So that's feeling that moment. I use that moment for blending in all the for example, not for example, confusing many culture in Indonesia blend together in that way. So I think is that. Yeah.
Thanks, Dodo. Super interesting. Maybe now I can move back to Cheryl. So Cheryl, obviously, we know you and Plus Collaboratives very well. You have most recently designed Singapore Council, worked with you to design Reroute, the placemaking project. And of course, then we look at Insecta Idris. And it's really speaks a lot to you as an interdisciplinary design studio covering all these different varieties and types of design projects. So is there a common starting point or approach for your inspiration across each of these types, or in terms of be it user experience or just that reimagination? Each of it is so different. So just wondering if you can speak a little bit about your inspiration behind it.
Okay. Yeah, I think for us, we stress a lot on the front part of before we begin the design process. So for us, we spend a really long time at the start where we try to collect information of our context, of our surroundings. So even if Insecta Irides, right, it was about the print houses, it was about the printers. So we try to understand like how the print industry works. I mean, we do have a little bit of a leg up because we do use print houses ourselves as creatives. So trying to understand how print companies try to sell to them was something that we spend quite a bit on. And like for the project that you mentioned, that's our Reroute, which was a placemaking type of project, we spent a long time trying to understand what tourism is, what place is. So sometimes it's a lot of all this contextual understanding that we try to spend a lot of time on. So that will be the commonality of all these different varied works that we try to do. So keeping it objective at the start helps us to really identify the picture before we start pulling the strings together to define what's the parameters for our design. So in these projects that we were given, I think we were quite lucky that we get to design the parameters of what we get to create ourselves. So and that's the part that we really like in our practice, that we get to fine-tune what the parameters are, working with the clients quite closely, what are the exact objectives that you want, and all that. So we defined it together with them. And sometimes you find that even clients themselves, like this process is useful to them because they are not aligned within themselves, and ranking them and trying to fine-tune and pull together what's this final parameter of what we want to achieve together as a team really anchors what we see in our design solutions. The variety that we try to create in the outputs actually come from a variety that we try to explore within the context and the people and the understanding of the users. So I would say that that is the commonality between the projects that we try to do.
Thanks, Cheryl. I love the focus on the user centricity, and just looking back at the Insecta project, it's really super inspiring how you have not just reimagined the brief, you almost disrupted the entire concept of what Fujifilm was looking for. And talking about disruption, we moved to the Dyson project by Moser. So I think for Kevin, coming back to you, love to understand a little bit more, because on Cheryl's point about user centricity, for your project, you have to balance the practical usage of the office, preservation of this national monument, of course, James Dyson's own vision and interest, and finally, your own design philosophy. How do you bring all these factors together? Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. I think as Cheryl said, I think any great design process actually starts with, doing your research, your ideation, collaborating in a way. I just want to be clear, this project was a collaboration of many stakeholders, which Moser were part of, but also, Anna Zhu from Dyson, and also our partners on the engineering side, because as you kind of quietly stated, the building is a heritage building. It was kind of massively kind of complicated. And I think, those all kind of came together to actually kind of feed into, the overarching kind of vision for the space. Obviously Dyson have an amazing kind of history of providing amazing architecture and workspaces, which kind of, was a major influence at the beginning, as well as, we really respected the building and to the fact that we kind of stuck to the original imperial grid for the planning to the letter in all the spaces. So when you could kind of, I suppose in a way, Dyson's ambitions inspired us to kind of create the space, and, it's all about kind of ideation and collaboration to bring that to life.
Thanks, Kevin. Great to hear about that. And now, really gonna ask a question that's open up to the three of you here. So please feel free to answer. I think as we look through all your projects, the first one that really comes to mind is, are there any singular kind of key principles that drive your design process, and how do you balance the difference between aesthetics and functionality within your projects? Dodo, would you like to answer?
Okay. The functionality and the creativity, right?
Yeah.
So I think the functionality, this is I'm an interior designer and architect, so I'm focused on that, not other thing. So in our work, functionality is, I think, number one actually, because design is function. So the good design, the good shape or the good style of design, but not function is nothing. So functionality is always the first to that we think. For example, if I'm designing the room, the hotel room, so the functionality of that hotel room definitely has to be okay. The air condition has to be okay. The water, the shower, the bed, environment of the room, everything, the lighting, everything has to be minimum, in the minimum function, not right. And then after that, after the function, then later we think about the aesthetic and the creativity, but the function is goes first, is in our field.
Cool.
I think it's yeah.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Kevin, Cheryl, anything to add?
Yeah, I think I agree with Rudy. It's really about understanding, the requirements of the end user and, the various parties who are gonna use that kind of interior space and, capturing those kind of needs. And, I agree with Rudy. In a way, the aesthetic is kind of informed by that kind of, research, ideation and kind of prototyping process.
I think for me, because my works are a bit more in experience and as well as communication, the idea of functionality is actually about connection to the user, how you get your message across. That's the functionality to us in our works. And I think we have to approach it from the understanding that design in itself has no value if it's unable to connect. And if it's unable to develop a relationship with the user, then it does no purpose to exist. So I think only then we can kind of begin to understand that what we are building, there's the fundamentals of the design to address, and then there's the image of the design that you see. And understanding these two realms is what we try to see in our studio.
All right, thanks, Cheryl. Yeah, next, I think what I'd like to talk about is really about some of the trends and development in design today. And this almost becomes like, a common staple across most dialogue today. But, when I think about the last major shift in spatial design architecture, it's really the transition from paper to CAD, computer-aided design. But today, it feels like we're on the brink of another potentially disruptive revolution with generative AI. So it starts off with things like Midjourney, DALL-E, and increasingly companies like Microsoft and Adobe are adopting it. So for the three of you here, do you see this as an opportunity or threat to creativity and to design itself?
I think first, yeah. I think yes, the AI now is quite an issue in the not only on the design field, yeah, everything, and then it's starting to very sophisticated if we see, yeah. So they can write papers, everything, stories, everything. They can create voice, everything, and then also creating the design also, and architecture and interior design also are definitely sure that the AI can do that. And then as a designer, I think it's not a threat. It's helping us, actually, helping us to do the design more sophisticated, more faster, more creative, and everything. I'm sure that human is always have a sense that machine cannot have. That sense will develop the AI into the next level of design, I think. Thank you.
Thanks, Dodo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Dodo on
Cheryl.
that because yeah, I think AI is quite an enabler in the industry, because I think what it can do in a singular realm is to really go deep in the information that it can do. It can achieve a singular objective, but it's the role of the designer then becomes quite clear. I think that we are the ones that really process things. You can't consider cultural context, you can't consider some of these things, and when it crosses, and that's when it really brings about a unique solution. And having AI helps us with the fundamental portion of trying to gather information and all that. So I think personally in our studio, we haven't really delved very deep into that possibility, but these are some of the possibilities that we could see how it could help us with the initial project or initial front part of the project of info gathering. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, obviously AI is kind of, we're in definitely in the wave of a game change at the moment. And I think, once we kind of go over this kind of euphoric explosion that we're currently experiencing, how do we kind of, I think as, Cheryl and Rudy have touched on, how do we kind of bring in the nuances of that? There's amazing kind of stuff visually on stuff like DALL-E and Midjourney. I think, how you kind of bring that into kind of, workflow and, nuances of, sites, environmental impact, social, But I think it's moving at such a rate that, the potential that it has, offers designers is, something kind of quite incredible. And probably we've only ever, as you mentioned, only probably ever seen it once in our lifetime already with the advent of, CAD and Adobe kind of dominating those creative kind of platforms. So, generally I think it's just kind of exciting, and, how we bring in the human nuances to kind of maximize the potential of the technology will be really interesting.
Cool. So the summary here is that it's not a big concern. We will all still have a job, and we'll all still be more important than the AI itself. And on that note of advice, I'm wondering for the three of you here, because for all the younger designers tuning in, would you have any advice for them from your own experiences and journey when it comes to creativity?
For the young designers.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. First, if you are this designer, you have to have a passion on that design. The passion that I mean, not only on design, but on everything that to do with the aesthetic and art. So you have to appreciate the music, the poetry, theater, dance, everything to do with art, and a statue, painting, everything. So you have to focus yourself to all of the aesthetic element in this world, and then that's what I call you're passionate on the design business, right? For young designer. And then the second thing is actually fun. You have to travel a lot. travel. You have to traveling around the world, unlimited traveling. So that's what I suggest to the young designers. Just go around the world. That's in the last 3 years we are suffering from COVID. We cannot travel, but now I think it's time to travel again. Okay.
I'd probably back up what Rudy said, and I think the advice I go to any graduate is go out there and try and work for your heroes. If that involves kind of jumping on a plane and experiencing another city and a culture, or taking that inspiration that's kind of brought you into the profession in the first place and go for it. Because I really think those early years will, they'll provide the foundation for the rest of your career. So I think just kind of seize that opportunity and kind of go for it. And as Rudy's just pointed out, the world's kind of just opened up again. So there's full of potential for young designers to go out there and explore.
Yeah, I like what Rudy said about the first point where you talk about the idea of passion, right? A lot of the young designers, when they come in, they talk about like the passion that they have for a certain type of design. They have a passion for branding, but you don't actually have to have a passion for branding, or you should have a passion for things in general, a passion to understand things, a passion to break down things, a passion to communicate things. And I think that's what really is crucial for young designers, to really trust the process and try to spend time diligent in trying to explore the context of surrounding things that you are designing, or just in general understanding context.
Thanks, everyone. And continuing on the note of giving advice, we received questions from the audience today. In terms of how would you rank usability, aesthetic, and practicality? So I guess this is more of a very specific design question, but would you have anything to add on to this in terms of ranking usability, aesthetic, and practicality?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't see the three as the same category, to be honest. Like in terms of usability and practicality, yes, maybe they are a bit more similar. I feel that aesthetics is born out of a relationship of these two. And because if we talk about design as a connection to people, when we talk about practicality, usability, aesthetics get considered. How things look affect how much you want to use them as well. So aesthetics, I feel it's rather an after effect that we try to encompass when we look at this too. So I would say if I really had to rank, would be usability definitely, then practicality, and yeah, like I said, aesthetics would be something on the outside. Yeah.
Great. I guess we're coming up to the almost the end of this dialogue today, but one other question I wanted to ask is, for all of you here, because you are the DFA award winners, and as we are approaching the end of this run, we wanted to find out for each of you, what was your experience like in receiving the award? How have you gone about with your work since then with each of your projects? Because I know all of you, your projects are multiple award winning. But yeah, specific to the DFA award, could you speak about your experience in winning it? Maybe beginning with Kevin?
Yeah, sure. Like, obviously I'm from London originally, but I've been living in Asia for a long time. So to, me personally, to be part of a project that's kind of made such a kind of a contribution, and to be honest with you, be held in the same esteem as not only the work of Rudy and Cheryl, but some are, there's some amazing practices like Neri and Hugh, Hasgub and Moron, to have your work considered in that kind of breadth, and having the social and and design impact as well, kind of enables you to have the confidence to kind of take those learnings from those projects and kind of apply them kind of moving forwards. So that'll probably be my main kind of takeaway from it.
Dodo, yourself, anything to add?
Okay. Yeah, this is actually quite unique experience for me, because in our company is almost 30 years, for as you know, that in the beginning of 15 years we don't really care about the awards. So we never apply awards, we never do that, and then that's the mistake actually. So don't do as the mistakes that we did for 15 years. So for young designers, please do submit your work to award as much as you can, and then that award will really help for your career later. So yeah, that's my point of view.
And Cheryl?
I think for me, maybe it's I would say it's a bit hard to pinpoint exactly like what came out of DFA, but I think in general, it's nice to see that people do recognize like the invisible part of coming up with such an output. Because I think when we first talked about experience, when we first started the studio all the way till now, I think we can really see the appreciation when people talk about like a thoughtfulness in design. They understand that things are interconnected. They know that it's not really just about changing out certain things and all that. So I would say that would be what I'm quite happy to get out of this entire experience of like submitting for these awards, and moving forward, looking at like working on more such experiential projects where the brief are a little bit open. They engage us in working out the parameters of the brief with them. So yeah, that's what I'm happy about.
Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. And I think one last thing in terms of just being an award winner, it also gives everyone, myself and the public, a chance to see all this amazing work that you have done. Dyson office is not open to the public. Not everyone will have the chance to visit Yuva in Bali, and of course, for your Fujifilm project, it's specific to your client's brief. But now I think all of us have a chance to kind of see that amazing inspiration that all three of you have given us today. So I think with that, we've come to the end of the dialogue. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand it back to Isabella. Isabella, sorry, you're on mute.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. And we have gained a lot of insights from today's sharing from all of you. And our online events of this year were all live broadcasts, and also you can be watched on our official YouTube channel, the DFA Awards. And for audience who are interested, please feel free to check it out anytime and to subscribe our channel for our latest online events. And also, I would like to remind you that our submission deadline for the Design for Asia Award will be next Friday, 7th of July. So please catch this time to submit any projects you think that can be fit into our awards. I think that should be helping you a lot from our awards. Just like Mr. Dodo said, don't be delayed. Please do it now. And so today, this is the end of our dialogue. And thank you so much to joining us and stay with us for the last hours. So please follow us on our website and social media platform, the DFA Awards. Last but not least, and please help to fill out our questionnaire through this QR code on the screen to let us know your thoughts on these events. And also, if we can do more, we will be happy to do so. Thank you for joining, and let us say goodbye to our audience. Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.